Hello, hello. It has been a long time since I've been live. There's been so many things that have happened in my life that I've just taken like a bit of a step back as I recalibrate and look at how I do everything and how I want to move forward. So there's probably going to be a lot of change coming, and I'm in that. I kind of call it like a pregnant pause of like, I'm not quite sure how it will look, but I'm excited to see what happens next. But what I've come here today to talk about is I kind of want to look beyond where we are now in our modes of relating. And I do believe that we are looking at a new paradigm of relating going forward. And why I'm saying that is it feels like there's been huge amount of like more awareness about our own traumas, our own patterns, our own triggers and behavioral personality types and all that kind of thing. There's been like a massive increase of awareness, and that's amazing. I think it's brilliant. But what I notice again and again is people are wearing the label or the prognosis like some sort of badge, and it sticks. Like, oh, I have abandonment, or I have this core wound, or my ex has narcissistic personality disorder, or I'm an empath, or all of these kind of labels, and they're like kind of tropes to be able to understand ourselves better and others better. But we're not going beyond the labels, and that's where I think that where we want to go next is how are we going to actually look at practical, useful, hopeful tools and techniques to actually work with those labels and actually start coming back to some sort of sense of harmony and wholeness. So I'm going to go a little bit deeper into all of this now. So I think we've realized that we've got it really wrong in the past. Like our parents and their parents and history and our ancestry have gone through so much strife and struggle, and there's been a lack of, say, education and awareness around how trauma is passed down from generation to generation. Where you can look at how our school system, corporal punishment at school back in the day, how all of these have fed into our own childhood traumas and how we have become who we are. And we are stood here on the precipice of like, wow, we don't want to do that anymore. So we're in that kind of early stages of going like, oh wow, that hurts, or oh, it doesn't have to be that way. And I think that's an incredible place to be. So I know, we watch, social media. There are so many coaches, practitioners, healers that are looking deeply into this. And I think that having a label, being able to go like, oh, I'm an anxious attachment person or an avoidant attachment person, whatever it might be, that it's useful. But then I think that where I stand is that there are practical, rooted, embodied ways of shifting out of these patterns and out of these traumas. So that's what I want to look at today, a little bit deeper. Like, how do I see that, and why do I see it in the way that I see it? So yeah, it feels like we have to go beyond a label, and we have to start being more proactive and practical about how we move through that. So how I see it with my energy eyes, from and I'm informed from way over 10,000 hours of one-to-one time. I've run like 28 different group transformational courses with kinesiology courses that I run. I've been an aura mediator instructor working with people's energy fields for over 10 years. And I think I've developed my sight, like my way of seeing things. And I've developed like theories or sort of like ways of seeing these patterns and these traumas and these triggers in our bodies. And what it actually looks like, the way I see it is that we have an architecture of our core sense of self, of our energy field, of how the energy field interfaces with others and how we relate to each other. And I guess the way I see things is I can see it as lots of rods or lines or actual architecture. Like there's a coherence and a structure to our bodies. We've got a skin, we have an edge. And I guess I've been super interested and very geeky about how we impact each other and how other, like certain relationships have impacted on that structure. So what I'm seeing today, again and again and again and again, is that our architecture has become, corrupt is the wrong word, nebulous, fragmented, fractured. Nebulous as in there's no edges anymore. We've become, like hungry ghosts looking for something to make whatever feels like is missing here. We're like pulling and sucking energy in and people in to make ourselves feel whole, or to seek validation, or to fill the gaps. And I think that causes so many issues and complications when we're relating with others, or just about our sense of self and how we feel about ourselves. So there's been like I think over time, and everyone's traumas are different, but there is a sense kind of with everyone on some level that we're not okay, or we're not whole in ourselves. And that's why we keep having complicated relationships, or feeling super anxious when things don't work out, or feeling like excruciating abandonment or heartache when something wasn't quite right for us in the first place. Like, why are we feeling so disproportionately upset about something not working out? So I think if we start looking at how, this is like looking at the anatomy of core wounding, the architecture of abandonment, the architecture of loneliness, the architecture of neediness. How does our energy system look when we're playing those patterns out? And is there any hope of reversing it? Yes, there is, I promise. I know there is, because I've been doing it for a number of years now, and it's very effective. So I'm just going to check my notes, make sure I'm not, and also how I've said, that fractured, fragmented, hungry ghosts, but also what I notice is people look pinched with resentment and bitterness and pain and blame and guilt, and almost like they're carrying the burdens of the world on their shoulders. And that has an architecture too. Like, why is the light not shining from their eyes or from their face? Have you become closed down, or are you like an octopus out there? What does that look like, and why is that happening? And I think that I know for a fact that there are ways through. So that's why we're going to get to that in a minute. And I just want to look at, how does this all, where does it come from? Why is it so messy? And I think going to the character structures, and the kinesiology school that I studied with was created by an ex-psychoanalyst, and she taught us some incredible stuff, and I use it all the time. And looking at character structures, like the narcissistic character structure, the oral character structure, the rigid, the masochistic, and the, what's the other one? Schizoid character structures is so interesting, because it is a map of how we've become wounded, or how we have survived very difficult situations as babies and children. So it's that whole story that the first few years of our life, no matter if you had amazing parents or absent parents or abusive parents, we all have had moments where our needs were not met, where we were reaching out as little innocent babies and children for love, and not receiving what we needed in that moment. So it could have been accidental, or more difficult situations. But understanding that at the basic level, before that happened, you were a pure, innocent, sort of harmonious, coherent structure. You came through, there is the argument that you also can be born with ancestral imprints and difficult stories. You're born with the generational bloodline, intact. So there's going to be information within that. And also your energy field and our DNA and our bones are part of a very, very, very long human history, which also has a lot of suffering. But if we just go for the, like a a simple explanation is that there is a point where you are light, you are innocent, you are a spirit in a body, you are looking for love. Everyone's looking for love somewhere, looking for their needs to be met, looking to be, as a baby, you're looking to be fed, to be held, to be changed, to make sure you're safe and secure. And if we don't get those needs met, and if at the time the schooling system or the parenting system, or like whatever our cultures said is good parenting, bad parenting, what was fashionable in parenting, means that we have lost, on some level, we weren't able to receive what we would need as an innocent little baby self. So we start to build defense mechanisms, we start building survival mechanisms to cope with the lack of holding, the lack of food, the lack of attention, the lack of being seen and heard. And that's where, as adults, we end up with all these crazy patterns and this feeling of not being safe and not being at home and not belonging in our bodies and not being able to be content, not being able to be fulfilled. So that's where, bringing that to us as adults now and trying to have relationships with people, if those core wounds and patterns are left as they are, then we're constantly going to look for those needs to be met in ways that aren't necessarily very helpful to us. Like being really octopusy and needy is going to push people away eventually, or being really defensive and grandiose and like I'm better than everyone else is also going to push people away. So in a way, the childhood wounding that we have actually hinders us from getting the love we need, even that's all that we really want. And it also can, it's like we're either way too open or way too closed, and that's difficult. So there are ways through. And when you study character structures, you do learn that there's lots of ways of starting to heal those patterns and coming into balance with them. And they all have positives as well. They can make you really compassionate or really hardworking, or whatever. There's positives with all of these character structures, and you're never just one anyway. And it's like a huge, huge step towards inner work to work with those. But what I'm combining the information from character structures and your inner your innocent true self when you were born or before all this happened, and I'm combining that with years and years and years of looking at people's patterns in relationship. And then also I've been informed with my work with aura transformation through thousands and thousands of hours of aura transforming and teaching aura transformation about the architecture of our energy field and how it interfaces with the world, and how do you maintain more radiance and power in your body rather than giving it away. So these combined studies and modalities have meant that I've got a maybe different view of looking at these patterns and knowing that they're not fixed and that you're not stuck with them, and that you don't have to wear the label like a badge. You don't have to forever feel like because you're an empath that you attract narcissists, or that if you have avoidant attachment that's going to be forever like that. There is definitely ways through. And I just want to bring in actually hang on, let me see if I've got ahead of myself. So yeah, what we want to bring, let's go to the end goal. What we want to bring is a structure and a sense of self where your innocence and your light and your radiance is contained within your body, and that you can validate yourself, and that you can have sort of hope for love and for your needs to be met. It's like, of course my needs can be met. Oh, and I am fulfilled. It's like we want to create this embodied, integrated, felt sense of I'm home, I belong here, I'm good enough, I'm okay, I deserve love, my needs can be met, I can be fulfilled, all that kind of stuff. So it's like the reversal. What is the reverse of having all these core wounds and difficult traumas and triggers and childhood experiences and all of that? So what we want to do is resurrect, rematrix, retemplate this architecture where you're not a hungry ghost, where you're reversing fragmentation. Fragmentation is when, as an example, something really difficult happens to you, like a shock, trauma, and part of you just goes, I'm out of here, I can't deal with this right now. And it's a survival mechanism that freezes that trauma in time somewhere and like puts it aside. So there's like a part of you, a fragment of you stuck in time, but kind of in the unconscious, subconscious, underworld somewhere, or upper worlds, wherever. And what you want to do, and then that leaves like a hole or a gap of feeling whole or feeling in your body or feeling like you're fully here. So reversing fragmentation, pouring gold into all the cracks, or I call it pouring the love in where you were hurt, pouring love into the loneliness, into the abandonment, into all of, how do we heal where there are gaps? How do we fill our own emptiness? How do we fill our own need for validation? How do we reclaim ourselves from all these stories, whether they're ancient, ancestral, this life, or whatever's going on right now for you? And that's really powerful. So for me, the labels are not enough. What we need is practical tools. And that's what my work has been for many years. And I'm going to just share a little bit about this heart retrieval. It used to be, heart retrieval is something I created. God, I don't even know what year it was now. It's when I lived in Exeter. So that's like, I think 2015, 16. And I created it because of something going on for me. And it was a kind of unknown mystery that I was experiencing, where I'd had this big, most fantastical chemistry love story situation when I was 23, and for 13 years I was stuck with this like loss, longing, heartache. Couldn't get the person really far out of my mind, and if I did, it was like a mega trigger and very painful. And it would be so confusing. I was like, why is this happening? Like, there was nothing, there was no contact with this person. There was nothing there. And then 13 years after the time, I saw this person and we discussed both our experiences, and it had been the same for him. So for me, that was like, and I'm full in energy geek world at this point, and kinesiology and everything already. And I just went home and I realized what was happening. And I suppose if you don't know what's happening, you don't understand, like why there's a longing or why there's an abandonment or whatever pattern is going on for you. If you don't cognitively understand it, or you don't know where it is, or it's subconscious or unconscious, it's very hard to work with. It's like you don't know where it is, so it's hard to do anything about it. But so I really realized and could see what was happening, that me and this person's heart, this is where I called it heart threads, were all tangled up. And I think it was like a really ridiculous amount of heart threads. If we did 100%, it was like 60, 70% heart threads stuck with this person. And I'm like, this is crazy. And in that, the wound of separation 13 years ago was like as alive as ever in that tangled up, frozen trauma state. And that in that one night of studying myself and feeling what this pain was and realizing that all the threads were there and all that kind of thing, I started to retrieve my heart threads, and it composted the frozen trauma. It was like the metal melted, the fire died down, it turned into ashes, flowers came out of it. It was just like a very beautiful alchemical transmutation of something very frozen and stuck. And then me and this person, it took a little, I think we met one more time, discussed more. He felt completely different. I felt completely different. And we've been completely free, no contact since. But that was 13 years of like frozen, traumatic, longing heartache. And that was like, how uncomfortable is that? And it's just not necessary. And what I created from that was a protocol or a method. And I started doing it with friends, started doing it with clients that were willing guinea pigs, and I started doing heart retrievals with people and doing hundreds of these it became a whole body of work, because I realized that it's not just about untangling from your previous relationships. People come with lists of all the names of all their exes and loves and losses. It's not just exes, it's your parents, it's your friendships that have been and gone, or that are weird, or it's about the people that you're in relationship with now. It's miscarriages and pets, and it's just like all the loves and losses of your life. And people come with a list, and then we start mapping what's going on. Where is, like, are your heart threads attached to that person, or was it even to do with that person, or was it that it linked in to the wounds of, say, childhood, like I've just talked about? So like your sense of abandonment with so and so that you broke up with actually isn't really to do with that person. You're not longing for that person. It just really kicked it in the wound from your childhood of, you know, an absent parent or whatever was going on for you then. So you're able with heart retrieval to map so much about your heart, your entire story of love and loss, about your relating patterns. And it's not fixed. It's not a fixed system. We are made of water. We are made of blood. Our cells regenerate all the time. We are not fixed. The chapter cannot, we don't need to stay in the chapter of this horrible thing happened to me then, or this is stuck forever. Turn the page. This is an opportunity to turn the page on the old stories, but you need the tools and, I suppose, insight and tools to learn how to do that. How do you pour the love in? How do you change the chapter? How do you move through abandonment? How do you move through grief? How do you move through longing? You know, what does it look like for you? It's different for everyone. My longing is very different to your longing, etc. So it's like learning how to move through what has been most difficult for you. And I wish there was a different word for this, but hope is tinged with something. It's a bit like over there, isn't it? But from working with hundreds of people with heart retrievals, and me learning what they do for people as I did them, so I've had to collect evidence of the impact, and I'm still every day surprised and in awe. I get tearful when I hear the stories of what's happening for people. But when you reclaim your heart threads and you reclaim your heart space, and you understand why those feelings or patterns were there in the first place, whether they were actually to do with that person or not, or if it's your own stories and background, to reclaim your heart space from all of those stories, it's an incredible moment. And when we do it in my Love Again course, we're doing, say there's 10 of us or something, and we're doing group kinesiology. We're doing a 4-hour heart retrieval over 2 sessions. And, you know, we're all reclaiming our heart threads individually. And it's very powerful. It's an experience. And the aim and goal at the end of a heart retrieval is to really feel and understand, what does it feel like when I have my whole heart back? What does it feel like when I have all of my threads and I'm in my power, in my light, and I'm reclaiming all of that? And it's different for everyone, but the feeling is amazing. When it happened to me, that first night, the original night, when I first did it to myself, it was like I turned into a firework. I just couldn't stay home. I put on a red dress and I went dancing, because I just felt like the sun came out of my face, you know, and people were, I'd walk in a room and people were noticing. It was like my masculine and feminine energies were just like resurrected. There was a powerful surge of energy and reclaiming of myself, and it was just really beautiful. So when I've run these with other people, they will have their own version of it, but there's a sense of feeling whole. There's a sense of feeling like I'm safe in my body. There's a sense of relief, like, oh, I'm not in that weird longing, or I'm not in that weird codependency, or I'm not forever, you know, blaming all these other people and labeling them. They're that, you know, they were narcissists and they were this and that, you know. It's like a freedom from all of this resentment and bitterness. And yeah, it's like the heaviness that we carry from our old stories is relieved somewhere. But and also over time there was a moment when I posted on Facebook that, you know, that I'd done over 100 of these, and that I can't claim that you're going to meet a new person, you know, your person, or you know, start relationships afterwards, because I don't know if that's true. Because to me, love again and heart retrieval is about you. It's about you and your relationship to yourself, your relationship to your edges, and you know, that it's not about, when I say love again, I don't mean go forth and find love out there, because love is a field. So if you're not in the love field for yourself, then, you know, it's, and anyway, it's not about finding a relationship unless that's what you really want, and that's fine if you are. But from that post I did years ago, there was like, I think it was like 8 or 9 people posted photos of a couple that they'd created. They'd found a partner after their heart retrieval. And a lot of people that came for the heart retrieval had been really stuck in old patterns of being, you know, isolating themselves, or, you know, toxic relationships, or feeling heartbroken forever, you know. And so it was really beautiful to see that validation. So there is evidence that you do and can find love after heart retrieval and love again and all that. But that isn't really the point of why I'm doing this. The point I'm doing it for is that people feel at home in their bodies and like they belong here, and that they don't have to carry the pain and suffering of what's happened to them in a way that hurts continuously. So eventually, after doing hundreds of these, I realized that people leave a heart retrieval and then they go out there and then start giving their heart threads out again. And then they're coming back for like top-ups. And I was like, there needs to be more teaching or learning around what to do with your heart threads after you've had a heart retrieval. So I started, I created the course called Love Again. Love Again, the Heart Retrieval Mapping Consciousness Journey. Very long title, but it says it on the tin. We're doing the heart retrieval thing as part of the course, but you're also going to learn about, you know, core wounding, healing the fragmentations and fractures, coming into a divine union with yourself. Nothing to do with outside, you know, bringing in some divine union or twin flame with spirit mate. I don't actually agree with that. I think it's about you becoming like the rebuilding the architecture of self, the core pillar of strength of your true innocent spirit self. And then that will translate naturally into the architecture of, you know, strong, robust, resilient boundaries. And then if you change your inner structure and purge and heal all of this old stuff, the world is going to react to you differently. And that's why all the different experiences happen afterwards, or you attract different kinds of people, because you're like in a more congruent, harmonic, coherent energy field. And so there's the way I do my courses. They're all a bit different, obviously, because they have different themes. But the way I do it is that I want to guarantee transformation as much as possible. So I'm in there with you, a lot of it. So with the Love Again course, you have like content ideas and themes to watch, like a video. Then I do guided energy work, kind of guided meditations, but the point being that you're learning all these tools that I'm teaching you, how to work with your elements, the masculine, feminine, how to work with your core wounding, how to pour the love in, how to have a deeper, like how to create felt senses of being at home, belonging, and all that kind of thing in the body. How, you know, so it's a lot of how to do it for yourself. The whole point being is that I want you to be able to do it for yourself. I don't, you know, want people to rely on me. I want you to know how to do it. So there's a lot of like tools, practical tools, techniques, ideas, and like wisdom shared of how to do that for yourself. And for me, like my personality is I can't sit there and like meditate for 10 hours to try and figure out anything. For me, it's not my thing. So for me, it has to be like practical tools you could do on the go. And the point being that when situations happen, maybe you do have a breakup, maybe something happens like later down the line, you can go like, oh, I have tools. I know what I need to do here. I need to go to the grief temples. I need to go to my higher dimensional council. I need to work with my elements. Whatever it is, there's like so much there to carry you through for a lifetime. It's taken me half my life to build all those tools and figure that stuff out. And then we have, in Love Again, we have coaching calls, like laser coaching, hot seat laser coaching calls. So everyone gets to speak to me, everyone gets time with me to go through whatever they're going through. And we'll be doing, it's like personalized, high touch coaching there. But then the magic really is in the kinesiology calls, which are in all of my online courses. And I think they're my signature magic mastery. It's me holding a powerful sacred space for you to do the work. And because we're using kinesiology, which means muscle testing, we get straight to the bullseye of what's going on and what's needed in that moment. And we do the energy work and integration work. So we maybe work with the consciousness, the spirit, the energy, the architecture, whatever that is, but we make sure it's anchored in the body and can be integrated into your everyday life. So that's kind of like the format of all of my courses. Really, some of them are slightly different. And yeah, so I think it's a transformational intensive course that really works. And I'm hoping to start, I know this is a bit annoying that I don't have a date, but what I want to do is make sure the right people come forward. I haven't run this course for like a year because I have so many other courses that I run, basically. I would have wanted to do this sooner, but I'm waiting for the right people to come forward. I keep the group small, and I'm hoping to start in the next couple of weeks. And when the group comes together, we negotiate time zones because my clients are all over the world and I never know who's coming forward. So we have to negotiate as a group when you've come together. And we negotiate like the times and also, in this case, the frequency and how long our holiday for Christmas will be. We could smash it all in for like intensive transformational cauldron before Christmas, or we can extend it and have the first half before, like in November, and the second half after Christmas, November, December, and then it can be extended a little bit. So I'm very happy to work with whoever comes forward to make it work, because it's not for only women, and it's not for only single people, and it's for anyone that's relating with humans and that wants to deepen their understanding of themselves. And it's my only course that doesn't really have a niche, like the ideal client. And I don't really want an ideal client. I want people that are ready to do this kind of work and that want to go deep into these patterns, or have found that they're stuck with excruciating longing or heartache, or old stories that are a bit odd and weird. People come to me with the big weird stuff, and that's what I do. So yeah, hoping to start in the next couple of weeks. So I just want to check I've said everything. Yeah, just to recap, we have to go beyond these labels, and we have to go beyond just watching and learning about them and then calling people out and ourselves out like, oh, that was you being avoidant, or that was you being a narcissist, or whatever. We have to go beyond that. Like, what's the next step? There's a new paradigm of relating being asked of us, and it's up to us. It's not going to drop out the sky. We have to embody that shift and that change. We have to rebuild the architecture of self, because, well, it feels very important, because I walk around and I kind of worry how fragmented, broken a lot of people look, and also how really shiny, bright stars are becoming fragmented and fractured and hurt and losing hope for love. And so this is a stand for love, for innocence, for radiance, for light, and I'm here for it, and I'm ready, and I'm hyper qualified and very experienced in being able to hold people through these big transformational containers or experiences. And I think Love Again, the Heart Retrieval program, is a medicine. It's a powerful journey of discovery, and it gives you hope, resilience, and lifelong tools. So I really look forward to hearing from people. I was only going to come on for a short while, but never mind. And it's my usual long videos, long posts. I do like talking, I like words, but I like understanding this stuff, and I like offering practical solutions that work. So yeah, please get in touch. So if you want, there's going to be a link you know, that you can follow to read a bit more about the course. But if you go on my Facebook wall and scroll down, I don't know, a couple of weeks, there is loads of testimonials that are incredible. Like it's just, they're just amazing to read, just to hear all the different impacts that having a heart retrieval or going through the Love Again course can do for people. And I never foresaw how that, you know, that was what I was creating. And also, if you want to talk to me, I prefer to talk to everyone that I don't know yet on a quick call. It's not a sales call. I don't really do sales call. I actually just want to get to know you, make sure you're ready for this kind of change. My containers are so precious to me, and the group we bring together is so precious to me, that I do not put people in there that it's going to be too much for, or that isn't right for the group or whatever. So I'm going to be honest, and I would also offer you other solutions if it isn't right for you. So just come have a chat with me, message me, and we can book a quick call. I've got some time the next couple of days if you want to hear more or how I can help you. There is also, for those of you that are not suited to group work, there is options to do this as a self-study and then add some one-to-one sessions on top. Okay, thank you everyone. I hope you found this useful and interesting, and I'll see you soon.